it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nice to see you all here. If you could please join me in a moment of silence for men and women in uniform. Thank you. We have a young lady on the board here who lives with a man in uniform, but the most important part of her today is that it is her birthday. And I would like everybody, if you would, just to join me in happy birthday.
It's not your Friday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Cindy. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, everyone.
Jeez, I love it when you show
That's enough over there in the corner.
Oh, I can't wait for my reprisal.
I heard she's getting paid time and a half for being here
There
today.
you go.
It should be. Should be like an extra stipend.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order at 2 minutes after 6. Adjustments to the agenda, we have 4 of them here. John, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I have Tom, if you read Tom's report, he kind of outlined, he's been working with AvCog to do some review of chapter 38, so we have a sample agreement from AvCog for you to look at. We don't have the price yet, but whatever it's gonna be, bring it back. But it'll be a lot less than doing all of it through our attorney, because their rates are so much cheaper. And they're more than qualified to do the review of, what they propose in chapter 38. So, since Tom's been on the AvCog board, he went to the General Assembly meeting a week or 2 ago and met with them, and he's been trying to save us some money. So that's in there under item 10, and that's where Tom's report is. We have the Northern Board of Grant application is ready to go in this week, and that's under item 8, old business. And then there was a small correction to a couple of dates in the marijuana ordinance. We just wanted to bring to your attention. They were kind of transposed. One should have been before the other, and it was opposite. So we'll highlight that. That's under item number 6. We can discuss that. And then there was some questions on the HRA that Cindy had asked, and Annalee has given us a response, so we can talk about that on item 7.
Thank you. Anything else, John?
No?
Okay, very good. Next is, I need a motion to approve the minutes.
Chairman, I make a motion we approve the minutes of April 22nd, 2019, regular meeting minutes. Any corrections or additions?
Second.
Any corrections or additions? All those in favor? I'll abstain. Public to speak under non-agenda items. I know there's a number of you here. We received a handout earlier, so I'm going to start over here with WRGY and have Abby to fill us in on.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I won't take up too much of your time.
Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Janice Adler. I'm here representing our local community radio station, 90.5 WRGY. Hopefully you turn it in somewhat regularly. What we are trying to do is make it even more, yeah, that'd be great. Well, let me keep one up. Thank you. And you all got one, right? And this involves you and you. We would like to try to present an informed voters program, and you can do this in the privacy of your own home, as long as you have an iPhone that has any kind of voice messaging app on it, or in your notes on your Apple iPhone. And what we would really like to do is make sure that everybody is as informed about the issues and all the warrants that they're going to be voting on June 11th as possible. As you know, not everybody gets to these meetings, and we don't have the actual town hall meeting anymore. And I think it's really important that people know what the issues are. So we'd like to have as many of you participate. If you read the rules, it's pretty simple, or guidelines, not rules, guidelines to follow. And you, like I said, you look at the warrants. We selected the ones. We went online, looked at the draft of the ballot for June 11th, and there are some that not everyone agrees on. And those are the ones that I really feel that we should discuss more closely, because obviously there is differences of opinion, and it's important to know why there's differences of opinions amongst our selectmen. And of course, those of you who attend regularly probably have an opinion also. So ideally, we'd have maybe 4 voices for each warrant, 2 on each side or something like that. And we are going to start playing them as soon as we get them. And if you read, we'd love to have them by the end of the week. And again, do you guys use your, voicemail notes thing? Where did my phone go? I keep losing things. Okay, on my iPhone, if you go into your utilities, okay, come on, work with me. Somebody say something. Yes, I use my notes on my phone, recording them. Like you want a quick, like as you're going to bed and you want to remember something in the morning. Okay, well, if you go into your utilities, now I wish I had every kind of phone here so I could demonstrate. I go to utilities, I open voice memos, and I could play some of I do this at home. I do all the movie announcements and everything from my home, in my pajamas. You press record, and you start saying, "Hi, everybody. Please join us for a fun time at the movie theater." You stop it. You go. There's a point where you can, on mine it's 3 dots. It says share, share. I go share, and then I go mail. And then you mail it to WRGY. And I will get your statement, your opinion, your ideas about what we're going to be voting on June 11th. And we could really start a local little news communication going on. And I think that would be really valuable, and I think it's really important. So if all of you could just take a few minutes to participate, and of course you can record it as many times as you like at home. Send us the best one. It's really easy. And we would really appreciate it. I think we have an amazing tool in WRGY, and we underuse it. It could be really, sharing a lot more information and connecting with everybody way more. So, do you have any questions of me? I hope you'll all consider doing it. Again, on the back of this sheet are the warrants we'd like you to address, but if there's one that we didn't include that you find on the draft ballot online, which I gave you that information too, please share it with us. And,
you have to identify yourself?
You do.
Okay.
You do. I'm sorry. Did you know that one? You do.
Sorry.
Yeah. I didn't go through all the rules. I figure you can all read.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Again, that would be wonderful by the end of this week. So we would like to run a series of these, and then as ideas come in, we're hoping other people will hear them, send their messages in and ask, or ask another question, and really begin some communication. And make sure that when we all vote on June 11th, we're voting in the best interest of our beautiful town here of Rangeley. Okay, that's it.
You done?
I am.
Perfect.
Okay.
Any questions? Don't go anywhere.
I won't.
Anybody out there have any questions? How about the board? Any questions for Janet? Thank you very much for your presentation. John, do you have a question?
Can I make a comment? Every one of these are the same issue. So you not knowing that may think there's a whole lot of controversy, but it's one issue that has to do with my budget proposes an increase in the town paying a share of some benefits that the town employees don't have now. And so it's split for that reason on every one of these, because each one of these have town employees within those departments. So it's really not,
A multiple of issues.
no, it's a single issue.
But don't we have to vote on each one of these?
Yes, you do.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, each one of these are the same issue. I didn't know if you were aware of that.
Well, it's how we're going to spend our money.
Yes.
Right. So, yes. That I'm aware that it's all about where our different monies go, and the reasons why they were selected is that if you look at the ballot, not everyone agreed, and I thought it was important to find out why you didn't all agree on all of these different issues.
Yeah. And it's the same issue why there's not the agreement. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Oh.
It's
okay.
the same
Well,
issue that led to the
Well, that would be,
disagreement.
what would be really wonderful is if some of you would record what the problem.
I just looked for utilities on my phone. I don't have it.
Would you,
On your app?
Janice, may I make a suggestion?
Sure.
That, but that the next time, I think it's a great idea. I'm not casting any cold water on anything, but it would be very helpful if maybe you went in and came and talked with John first to
Okay.
find out, and then you'd get an idea of why there might have been a split and how
Okay.
it is associated with each one of the articles. Because
Okay.
as John said, it is a singular issue that's divided amongst X amount of points that you have back here.
Oh,
Anyways, an interview in your role as being,
John, may I
Yeah.
make an appointment to
that
come and talk to
that
you?
wouldn't be something you want to do right now.
My door's usually always open.
Okay.
You could interview him about the reasons why they're split.
Right,
Well, I can interview him, or,
Yep.
yes, I can come with my phone and interview you. But aren't there some? that-
Janice, we're gonna move to the next person in public to speak, if that's the end of
That's
your
fine.
presentation. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yep, and then I do encourage you to participate. I think it's a great idea, by the way.
And,
And it's very valuable.
okay,
Yep, thank you.
it would be great, you're very welcome.
Kate, you had your hand up?
I did. I just wanted to give a quick update about the Community Destination Academy, that the town got a grant to produce this academy. It's a 4-day, full-day event. It's filled with the Department of Tourism, consultants, all about tourism, how we're gonna go into 2030, how we're gonna be strong. It's very informative. It was very interesting. I learned a lot in the first few days, and quite frankly, all I've done is think about ways that Rangeley can move forward in the future, and how we can work together as a community to make sure that people come here and we can better ourselves. There's 2 more days. It's the 15th and 16th. We have invited a full house of people. They're business leaders, all the nonprofits, and the municipality. And all of those individuals have shown up and attended and put in their 2 cents and are representing Rangeley. And it's a great academy so far, and I look forward to the next 2 days. That's it, unless there's any questions.
Where's
Any
the
questions?
It's been happening at the Rangeley Inn. It's a grant that we went after from the town of Rangeley, and we won. Rangeley was picked over other communities in Maine to do this academy. And at the end of this academy, they are going to provide money for us to help us in our endeavors.
Would you want to mention how much?
$10,000.
Any questions for Kate from the audience? How about from the board?
No, thank you.
I'm going to echo
That's great.
exactly what are similar things that Kate did. I participated in the 2 days. Aside from the fact that it focused on our largest employer, which is travel and tourism in the state of Maine, 2 of the best presenters I've seen in almost any conference I've been to in the last 25 years. That's how good they were. And it really stimulated some very interesting counterpoint conversations in the 2-day period. I know Kevin was there, and it was fun to have all of the perspectives, from Cindy's perspective as a paralegal to the travel and tourism folks that are immersed in the everyday lodging, to Kevin and his business, where he's providing a resource for all of us to have our customers go to. It's very interesting and a great mix of people. Thank you for doing it, Kate, and the whole group. Yeah, very beneficial. Anybody else in public to speak? Okay, thank you. Boards and committees, planning board, January 9th. We have their minutes here, which are available. Good meeting. And also we have the minutes from the airport commission, which will play into some other agenda items here this evening. Consent items, disbursement. Let's start with, let's do the marijuana. Tricia, can you give us a synopsis on the issue with the ordinance? Or do you want John to do it?
Let me see if I have it.
I have it, Tricia.
Okay.
Go ahead, John.
On page 4 of the ordinance, dealing with, I believe, the licensing section. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, the 6th line down from the 2nd paragraph. As initial licenses for these limited license categories shall be available no later than July 1st, 2019, and applications must be submitted no later than September 15th, 2019. Those were reversed on the documents that already been approved, so when we were proofreading it, Tricia found it, and made the correction, so we wanted to bring it to your attention.
You checked with MMA, there's no problem switching them?
Yes.
We don't have to go through a whole bunch of,
It's more like a typo than anything else.
pretty much, yeah.
So we wanted to make sure you knew about that.
Thank you.
Need a motion? Or just explanation, we good enough for that?
Yeah, if you want to make a motion to approve the correction, it wouldn't hurt. You did make a motion to adopt what we before, so yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the changes on page 6 of the marijuana ordinance, July 1st to September 15th instead of September 15th to July 1st.
Page 4,
Page 4.
it was section 6.
It says 6 here. Oh, I'm reading the wrong one.
That just means consent items.
That's okay. Anyway,
Moved,
amend my ordinance for
Second.
page 4.
any questions, comments? All in favor? Opposed? Disbursement warrants, we'll start with the top one, the AP warrant first.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we pay AP warrant fiscal year 19, number 52 for $107,863.29.
Second.
Questions, comments? All in favor? Event permit, RFA, Art in August.
Mr. Chairman, I'll approve the event permit application for the festival held by the Rangeley Friends of the Arts in the Aquatic Park. And the date of the event is August 1st, 2019, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any questions about this at all? Paperwork's all filled out? Before we vote on it, who's here for the arts today? Anybody? I think it's fabulous, the ideas they come up with and how they do it, and what they pull off each year. With that said, all in favor? No opposed. Birds of a Feather Art Guild.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the event permit application for a festival to be held July 3rd in the Rangeley Town Park. The organization for Birds of a Feather Art Guild.
Second.
Moved and seconded, questions, comments, all in favor? Chamber of Commerce, Rookabai, I can't participate this year.
Oh, why not?
I have surgery on my knee a week from Wednesday. I won't be back in time for that. Makes me mad. I gotta defend my title somehow. Kevin, can you sit in for me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks.
My knee hurts.
Chamber of Commerce, we need a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I'll approve the event permit application for the run, walk, and kayak and bike event sponsored by the Rangeley Chamber of Commerce and Rangeley Health and Wellness to be held at the town park. The date of the event is May 26th, starting at 9 a.m. and ending at 2 p.m.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Another fabulous event with downtown Rangeley, excellent event. Any questions, comments? All in favor? No, perfect. Vendor's license, RFA.
Make a motion to approve the application for vendor's license for the RFA for July 3rd from 10 to 4.
Second.
Questions? Anybody? All in favor? Next. All right, I'll read it to you.
No, I'm just making sure I got what I got. Go ahead, if you want.
I'll make a motion to approve the application for a vendor's license. It's a transient temporary
Thank you.
license for the Rangeley Friends of the Arts to be held August 1st, 2019 in the Aquasic Park for the sale of crafts, arts, and related items.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor? Good, thank you. Liquor license, starting off with Mingo Springs Golf Course, Inc.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the liquor license for Mingo Springs Golf Course, Inc.
Second.
Any questions, comments? All in favor? Next is Country Club Inn at Rangeley.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the liquor license for the Country Club Inn at Rangeley, doing
Second.
business as the Country Club Inn.
Second.
Margie's here, does anybody have any questions? Any? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. Gingerbread LLC.
Make a motion to accept the liquor license for the Gingerbread LLC, the Gingerbread House, as presented.
Second.
Kate's here, any questions? No? All in favor? Thank you. Downtown Revitalization Reserve Wright Piers, $637.56. I need a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the disbursement of $637.56 for the Wright Pierce invoice out of the Downtown Revitalization Reserve account.
Thank you,
Second.
Shirley. Questions? None? All in favor? So moved. Correspondence. Under the correspondence, you can refer to the email from Anna Lee. This is in response to some questions that Select Person Egan had with Cindy. This sort of clears up some spots. Does it, you want to take some time and read through it? or-
No, I'll read it
You did?
afterwards. Yeah, I don't want to
Okay,
take
good.
a...
John, anything you want to add with this?
No, I think she explained it very well and answered some of the questions. That's all.
Okay, very good. Anything else on the correspondence?
Yeah, maybe you want
Yep, I'll get to that one. Yep. You have anything else? All right. I'm going to be real brief about this, but I do want to read something to you. We had a rather significant incident that happened here in the last few days involving a house fire on South Shore Drive, where some people almost lost their house completely, and some people almost lost their lives. And due to the efforts of our fire chief and Sergeant Austin, they saved their lives. And let me read something to you. I asked the chief to write something up, and he did. And it says, on Friday, May 3rd, 2019, at approximately 3:48, the Rangeley Fire Department was dispatched to 4 Swains Road and Rangeley Plantation for a reported fire structure. You'll see a news account of this in the newspaper as well, too. Rangeley Police Sergeant Jared Austin also responded and was one of the first on the scene, as was the chief. When Chief Bacon and Sergeant Austin arrived on the scene, flames were shooting through the roof of the residence. Sergeant Austin entered the residence with the chief to rescue a disabled man and an elderly female. During the time of their actions, flames were shooting across the ceiling and the room was filling with smoke. Their lack of hesitation, quick thinking, and overall heroic action saved the lives of these 2 people who would have been overcome by smoke within minutes and if it was not for their services. During the course of the firefighting, they called in, as the newspaper will tell you, a number of other agencies in the area to come help fight this fire. It certainly was a heroic effort on a lot of people's part. So you're going to be hearing some more about this particular action in the future. And with that, John and I will be back to you on what goes on. Chief Bacon and Tim Pellerin, previous to them, have instituted a junior firefighters program, and it has introduced some young folks to the degree of difficulty that firemen go through, even in a volunteer environment like we have here in Rangeley. And I would be remiss to say that this isn't. This is a time to really thank Chief Bacon and Jared Austin for not only their efforts to save these people, but also to bring up some young folks who had an opportunity to see this and these men in action. So it was pretty heroic all the way around. All right, with that, we'll move on. Any questions? Okay. So everybody should be thanked, moms and dads included. All righty. Old business, downtown revitalist. Wait a minute, let's go to number 8, the grant for, John, why don't you start in with that grant app and what you need from us there?
Well, mostly wanted to bring it to your attention. It's ready to be submitted tomorrow, but we wanted to make sure you knew about it. We all know this has been coming. We reported it a month or 2 ago. Got Darrell involved, and one of the things that we're asking for $500,000 from the Northern Border Regional Commission. We already have a commitment from the Maine DOT for $500,000 for an MPI grant. The remaining town share would be $60,000, and what we gave you a copy of a letter from M&H last meeting to support the grant as a public-private partnership. So we want to make sure you're well aware of the public-private partnership. Within the grant application itself, there's actually a section in there that deals, asks about the public-private partnership. Darrell brought that to our attention last year when we submitted it. And the whole issue with that is it may, in fact, score a few extra points, which will allow us to get a $500,000 grant. But it would require a sole source, probably contract with a contractor, which, M&H is a local contractor. They employ a lot of people here, so we're going to make sure that's everybody's well aware of that. So. If you don't get the grant, you don't get the grant, but if having that partnership allows us to get the grant, that remains to be seen. It's worth the risk, and certainly M&H has done a lot of work for the town. They do good work. This is a road project, which they're quite capable of doing. So we wanted to make sure that you were well aware of that. So this is actually what will be submitted tomorrow, and I know we've had some conflict before about the town submitting grants without the board's awareness, so I want to make sure you're well aware of it and get your blessings.
Thank you, John. Any questions for John on this? Go ahead, Cindy.
So John, there won't be an RFP put out for the construction of Loon Lake Road?
Oh yes, that's on the agenda as well.
No, that's for engineering service. I asked for the construction of Loon Lake Road.
Yes, there will be. The engineers, once we select one, will then have to design the road. Several of them in here have already indicated working with M&H. So what the actual outcome of that will be remains to be seen, whatever the engineer works, how they work that in, I'm not sure. It could be any number of, $50,000 from M&H, so I don't know that in itself would necessitate a sole source contract. It sounds to me like at this point that's what would happen, but it's still for working with each other, whoever the engineer is. So, but we're about a year away from construction.
So bottom line is when they finally engineer this thing, it's gonna go out to bid for the actual construction.
Yeah, we would have to, I would imagine.
Yeah, we have to.
You can't just, have someone, okay, we'll bill you every week.
Yeah,
We
it's-
still have to know what it's
yeah,
gonna
well, it's
cost.
just something you had said that it's
Yeah,
almost
it
like,
makes it kind of insinuates.
yeah, it's almost what it sounded like, and
It's not a foregone conclusion, no.
yeah, okay, that's,
No, and I'm glad you brought that up, so it's out on the table.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Try to get it out there so we're all on the same page, so
Yep. no, it's
in
not
the
a
future,
foregone.
depending upon whether we get the grant or not, we'll know how to deal with it.
Mhm.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mark?
I'm just trying to follow along here. And so the construction part of it isn't guaranteed for the M&H. That part is going to get bid out, is that what you just said?
Yes, we did.
So just wondering how that might work with the engineering thing. Would it, if you say that's going to be in the grant, would the bid process, require any competitive bidder to include some type of public-private partnership as well to qualify if they want to be considered? It almost seems like, so you're not, BSing the place you're sending this grant to, that you, and if it's going to.
I don't think there's any attempt
I'm
for
not saying there's
subterfuge.
any deceit.
But I think since the offer's been made, it behooves us to make sure that in the grant application, that is clearly delineated. Right, it's not an attempt to force anybody, should you bid or anybody else, to include a $50,000 partnership proposal.
So just so the town to hold up their end, that would need to be in the bid document there, that they would have to offer some type of public-private partnership as part of their bid. Is that correct?
We don't have to.
We don't have to,
We
that's
don't
not what's
have
being
to.
said.
By including it, according to Darrell, it enhances our chances of getting this award. That's a benefit of it.
I think
Excuse
but
me,
if you,
excuse me. Yeah, thank you, you're doing, so are you all set with how,
I'm still a little confused.
all right, so in our discussions about this thing, since this was put on the table, and it looks like a better bid, with knowing that there's an opportunity for a partnership, you don't necessarily, nobody has to bid it that way, but there is that opportunity for us. If you had done that, or anybody had done that, you'd be crazy not to include it in the proposal as part of the paperwork that's being submitted. Okay, and that's the only reason it's there. We want this $500,000, obviously.
And you have an offer of an in-kind.
That's correct. That's correct.
Public-private partnership.
But we're not making it mandatory for anybody else who bids.
Guarantee that that's.
That is correct.
With the contract.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah,
all right, you got a question?
You answered it.
I guess
Thank you.
I understand that now.
Okay,
That's fine.
Just, if you get
Right.
the grant, you don't necessarily have to go with M&H, even though they've offered to do an in-kind
That's correct.
$50,000
That's
gift. Gotcha,
going out to bid out.
okay.
We good? Anybody else?
Yeah, I'm looking for that exact thought here, Steve, so I can read it
We got it.
about the public-private.
Yeah,
When I photocopied this, it's a two-sided document, I only did front copies, so I'm gonna make y'all different copies, so you can scrap the ones that you've got, so you have all of the information.
okay. It's not gonna change what's gonna happen tomorrow,
No,
all right? So you're good? Everybody over here?
Yeah, thank
We're
you.
good here? Very good. Anything else you wanna mention to that, John?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
not right now.
Okay, we have an RFQ for the Loon Lake Road project.
Wright Pierce,
I'm sorry?
Wright Pierce,
What did I miss one?
downtown parking amendment.
Downtown revitalization.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yep. Yep, downtown revitalization amendment. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, okay, the last meeting, just three of you were here and you voted to approve an $8,400 downtown parking for Wright Pierce. The original one was $9,600. And so we included in this new one the email chain that went along because apparently the Park Commission felt that if there wasn't 10 spots out by the basketball court, then they didn't agree with it. So that's when Wright Pierce lowered the price from $9,600 to $8,400. And since then, they've looked again, discovered there's gonna be a lot more than 10 spots available there. So this is back to the $9,600. So I would suggest that think Cindy and Shelley made the motion for the 84. If you rescinded, made a motion to rescind that motion from the last meeting, and then approve 9,600, then we can continue on with the parking plan.
Is that clear as mud?
Clear. Clear as mud, I'm just trying to. Okay. All right.
First of all, before we go to that part, Cindy and Shelley, do you have any questions about where it stands right now? Let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
Okay. Do you have any questions about where it stands right now and why he's requesting you rescind the motion and the second?
I guess I'm not clear on, so the park commission said no to the,
All right, so the park commission said no, they would not approve it if it was less than 10 parking spaces. Right, Pierce? Now, if you read the emails, correspondence that Kate's had with all, now agree that there's more than 10 spaces available, in which case it'll be $9,600 back to the original amount. So the request is to have you to rescind your motion and second, by which we negate that vote and then go with what we have tonight with a new motion.
for 9,600, all
Yep.
right. All right,
But did the park commission approve it? I mean,
Well,
they met?
Chief could answer that.
They did approve it, that's correct. So the misconception or the problem with this revision was that the footprint of the property that was allowable for this new proposed parking area was misunderstood. So now that they see the full scope of area that is allowable potentially, we know we can get over 10 spots. So the park commission's proposal or approval was if this parking area was projected or produce more than 10 parking stalls, they would approve it. Anything less than 10, they didn't support it.
Okay,
I have a,
question?
yeah, to Keith. We just spent $1 million in that park having the drainage fixed and everything. Is it, if they pave, are they gonna pave this spot?
That
Yes.
would be the intention
Okay.
if the parking area is
Is
allowed.
that gonna mess up the drainage?
That's addressed in here, Donnie. There's some drainage, vocabulary in here and how they're gonna address that.
Okay.
Yep, that is it.
It obviously all ties into the idea of how much impervious area allowed to have in the park,
Right.
and that drainage would be tied into what's currently
Correct.
there, so.
There's also, I'll get to you, Mark. There's also an aspect in here for the sidewalk access to Main Street as well. Okay? I'll get to you, hang on. So are you guys clear? Right, Mark?
So where does this put this? I was under the impression from what was discussed at an earlier meeting that before additional parking was added in the town park, that there'd be a public hearing for people to discuss it and voice their opinions and whatnot. So does this forego that part of the process and just moving ahead with the...
Hang on, go ahead, Joey.
I'm sure the public hearing would take place after the engineering's done, so you know what the impact of the plan is. This is for the engineer to design all the changes to the parking. So once it's all ready to go engineered, then that would be the time to show what the plan is. That's the way I think.
Yep. You good with that? I'll get there, Kate. I see him. I'll get there. You good, Mark? I'm gonna take care of my citizens first before we...
It just seems backwards to me before the townspeople would decide whether they want to give up some of the green space that they have in the town park to parking, to spend the money to design it, you know, if there's something.
Well, we held a public hearing today with that on the wall after it's been fully engineered and looked at. And everybody had an opportunity to weigh in on what's on that wall right there. And I'm looking at it the same way. Yes, sir, you had a comment?
We'd be more than happy to, once we get a plan pulled together, to hold a public hearing, discuss the project, and gather comments
Yep.
and stuff. That's not an issue for us.
I'm sure you would. Thank you. Appreciate that. Cindy?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because this is the people's park, and I think we need that kind of feedback. You know, it's not, the sidewalk is, you know, a DOT project, but this is the people's park, and we need to hear from them before we lock in. It's my
So
thought.
you want to do it in reverse?
Yeah.
Have a pub,
I think a public hearing should happen first, with the space roughed out. You don't need, doesn't need to be perfectly engineered. You know, I think people just need a visual as to where, you know, what green space is going to be replaced with parking, and give them a chance to ask questions before we, you know, that, I mean, it may have an impact on the outcome, that's all I'm saying, so.
I just want to say that years ago when they did the basketball court, a lot of people weren't happy putting that in there because of the tar. We lost green space. So I just have a hard time believing that some people aren't going to be upset with this, especially the Park Trust, the Furbish Trust. I mean, they've...
May I just, during the park commission, it was brought to our attention that the Furbish Trust had originally proposed information center with a full parking area that ranged from where it is today throughout that whole area for that downtown and information, and that there was sketches and they should reside somewhere in the building of the town office, but we don't know. That was a long time ago, and that document has not been placed. You know, nobody's put their hand on it. But that was brought to my attention while I was in that meeting, that the original intent was for that to be.
Okay, because we've had problems, I mean, there's the Park Commission and then there's the Furbish Trust. And they're two different animals. And a lot of the stuff that goes on in that park, the Furbish Trust has not been happy with or tried to stop some of it, actually.
And I think people are more aware that the
ho,
more
ho, ho,
parks-
ho, ho. Couple of rules. Please make sure it comes in here, okay? I know you haven't been to many of them.
I'm sorry,
pretty
yeah, I
much
know,
is-
that was.
Yeah, go ahead, Jan.
Well, I was just gonna say, I think if people have become more aware, the more hardscape you add to any environment, the worse it is for the environment. So if they only want 10 parking spaces, I would say give them 10 parking spaces and call it a day.
That,
Yeah.
they wanted more than 10 parking spaces.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, not less than 10.
At least 10.
At least 10 or more, or it wouldn't be worthwhile to do.
Good,
But with 10 or more, it would be, was the
okay,
decision.
thank you.
Sad, okay.
Right,
Yeah.
and I'm on the Parks Commission, so I was there.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why when you make the road into the new parking lot, we're gonna lose a couple spots. So it didn't seem worthwhile if you're only gonna have like 7 or 8 spots in total that you're gaining. It didn't make sense to do it at all, so that's what we thought.
Mhm. So your concerns are, first of all, we need that, need to rescind it no matter what we do to move forward. So let's do that first, and then we can go as to how we're gonna organize whether we spend $9,600 or whether we don't.
Okay, I'll make a motion to rescind my motion from Board of Selectmen's meeting dated April 22nd, 2019, which stated to approve Exhibit B, Engineering Services Agreement Services Task Order Form for Project 14020B, Amendment Number 1, to the agreement between the Town of Rangeley and Wright Piers for Downtown Revitalization Plan, which addresses the parking on Main Street in the amount of $8,600.
Second.
All in favor of that motion? I'm gonna only ask you 4 to vote, because I wasn't here. Rescind it?
Only 3.
All in favor? Yes? No?
There.
You wasn't here? Just the 3 of you? So it's rescinded. You voted, correct? Okay. It was the 3 that were here, Trish and Tracy. Okay, so let's talk now about the new aspect of how we're gonna go about this thing. I'm in agreement with John that we get this thing engineered correctly so that A, the Park Commission has an absolute idea what they're dealing with, something that and as you suggested, the trust, and then have something we can put on the board, you know, clearly it doesn't need to look like that, but something that is professionally done and not, that's my feeling on that. So you guys can go from there and think what you think. What's your thoughts?
We've been chastised in the past about not having a plan, and if we have a public hearing to decide this without anything in front of people, their imaginations run wild and it becomes this big horrible monster. So I think we need to define what we're trying to do. so people can see it.
Donnie?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to have it at least partly engineered so we can see where it's gonna go.
Okay.
Do they have an idea where they must have, because they figured it out.
Oh, yeah, they've been walking.
How did they get from less than 10 to 10 though?
The problem became at the property line where the green space behind backwoods wasn't incorporated into the original plan.
Okay.
All I saw was from Genesi's back to, from Parkside back to the chamber. That part was the only first anticipated area to use. Now we have that green space that pushes back towards the L punch.
Shelley?
I think I'd like to have the trust, to get their opinion on it. I mean, I know that the park commission's on board.
Yeah,
and
before
so is
or
the
after
trust.
the engineering?
Before. I don't know when their next meeting is. It would be nice that so they're in the loop, because if they're saying no right up front, then we might have wasted $9,600.
Well, not.
Hang on one
No,
second.
I'm just saying that
Hang on, please. Cindy?
Yeah, I didn't think I agree with Shelley. I think, if there's another authority that needs to weigh in, then we should give.
Yeah, I think they should weigh in. My point was to make sure they had something to look at. And that's where I thought the engineering would be helpful. John has a point?
I don't think the 9,600 is for just the area by the basketball court. I think it's the whole design of all the parking changes on Main Street, including that. If I'm correct, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, so if this is more than just that
That's correct.
particular spot. This is the
Right.
whole plan that the
Right.
committee's been working on for a long time.
Okay, Rebecca?
However you vote, just make sure you do it contingent on budget approval, because that money is being voted on in June, so don't want to approve something that has.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Lastly, I'd just like to say, it is hard to make a decision without seeing something. Really, we're trying to make a decision on a parking lot that you really you couldn't really see. It's just kind of sketched out, but,
Mm-hmm.
so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was there a hand up over here? Okay, tell me what you'd like to do.
I'll make a motion to approve the 9,600 pending budget approval to create the plan.
Downtown parking lot. Moved?
Second.
Seconded? Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? 4 and 1 against. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Could I go back a minute and found what I was looking for?
Yes, sir, please.
Just so everybody's aware, item 36 on the grant application says capital investment. Will there be any capital investment made by private companies? If yes, please attach participation agreements or letters of commitment, if available, in the additional documents section of the document upload page. And we had yes, and the budget shows MDOT 500,000, M&H Construction private 50,000, Town of Rangeley 60,000, and the total match amount is 610,000 for to match the 500,000 Northern Board is doing. So it's part of their process, and it seems like it may carry the weight that we're looking for. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, next we have the RFQ for Loon Lake Road. And we have DuBois King Submittal, Wright Piers, ABS Engineering, I hope I said that correctly, CES Inc., Maine Land Development, Dirigo Engineering, and HEB Engineering. I don't know what you've all done in the past, but it makes some sense to me for us to review this thing till our next meeting and come back with your 4 top choices as to who. Let me finish it, and then I'll come right to you. 4 top choices, and if you feel 5 is what we need, or 3 is what we need, make that recommendation. Some you have experience with, some we don't. With that,
Yeah, we don't have the RFP/RFQ. We've never seen it, so we need that to, so we know what we're supposed to be
What we
judging.
submitted for an RFQ?
Yeah, we never saw it.
Okay, you can print that out, please.
okay?
So my idea was, we have 7 engineering firms that submitted these documents, these RFQs. So So my thinking was if you looked at 3 or 4 or however many you want, and then we would offer them a chance to do an actual proposal
Submit.
with a cost estimate for the length of the road, the design of the whole thing. And then, but as far as qualifications go, every one of them are qualified. So, some things may weigh more heavily than others in here. But, I immediately, the 4 of them, actually, 4 of them we know, we work with 4 of them. They're all very qualified. 2 of them I don't know anything about. 1 of them I know something about, but I think if Steve wants to wait till the next meeting, we can go into more detail.
Would it be appropriate to have a workshop on this one? I think that might be a pretty good idea. I don't know what your thoughts are on this, but we can really certainly bounce some questions off all of us and pull down from each experience. So let's do a workshop before our next one. If we could do it before the 15th, that would help me greatly. I could participate.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, so, no, you're all set. You're all set. Okay. Actually, you're right in the way.
Well, the next meeting's the 22nd.
Yeah, again, you don't have to put it around my schedule, but I'm out of commission for about 8 or 10 days after the 15th. I mean, I could try to hobble in here and do something, but
No, trust me,
I don't know
I've
what
had
I'm
it
gonna
done.
do, like,
I'm not
no
gonna be
idea.
going anywhere.
So how about I get in touch with you in the next day or so and pick a date, we'll go.
Yeah, there you go.
That sound good?
Sure.
Work some dates out with you.
This week, 13th and 14th, I can't make it, you're done the 15th, so.
Yep,
This week,
it'll be this week, so I'll call everybody tomorrow.
Before the 13th.
I'll call everybody tomorrow, we'll come up with a date. Is Tracy gone for a while, or?
She's copying them.
double cop, getting it 2-sided. What we gave you was 1-sided when it should have been 2.
Okay. So, pick a date then while we're waiting, because you're gonna need that for our next topic, so. We've got, today is, how date is it today?
6th
6?
May.
Yeah. What's the blue dot on Wednesday?
That's, planning board.
Okay. What's Thursday look for everybody? How are we looking there?
No, I'm gonna be out of town on Thursday.
Well, we can meet in the firehouse for a workshop
Yeah,
on Wednesday, if that's a better day.
meet down in the chief's room.
Is that good for you, John? Dave? Wednesday? Cindy? Shelley?
Time?
At what time?
What's the best you travel? So tell me.
Wednesday, I'll be in Rangeley.
Rangeley. 5 o'clock? That way we can get home? Is the Bruins playing Wednesday? It's important because I'm missing them right now.
Yeah,
DVR, baby.
hopefully they can cinch it tonight, can't they?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
they can cinch it tonight.
All right, don't let my excitement get too far out of me here.
Wednesday the 8th.
All right, let's do Wednesday at 5 o'clock in the firehouse. Can you check with the chief, make sure we can do that? All right.
It shouldn't be an issue, they meet on Thursday. So.
Okay, great. In case you didn't hear it, Tracy, we're gonna have a workshop Wednesday night for the engineering RFQ. Anything else in that regard? We good? Ladies? Okay. Next up, town dock usage. Mr. Kevin Sinnott and his lovely daughter are here to talk to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board. My name's Kevin Sennett, owner of Rangeley Regional Lake Cruises for 11 years. My daughter Leanna is back with us this summer. She started her business last year with a soft opening called Just Add Water Floating Camps with a houseboat that she renovated and rented out on the lake last summer. Through the growth of both of our businesses, I'm adding a new cruise boat to our business this year, a little bit larger boat, more seating capacity. Leanna is adding a second houseboat to her business. So what we've asked the town, with Keith, who we worked with as far as the uses of the dock, is to provide the town and the businesses an open house. So what we would like to do, our request is to bring both of her boats down on a Friday, the last Friday in May, which is the 31st, and then the following Friday, I would bring my new boat down, and to open it up to the public, the businesses that we obviously support in the town, to come out, see the boats, tour them. I don't know if I'm going to be doing cruises or not. I might do cruises. I've done this in the past with the Aquatic Lady, the original boat when we first started our business, just to get the businesses aware of what we offer as far as the cruising. And my daughter's opportunity to show off her two houseboats that she has. So we would like to use the dock to do that. Talk with Keith on which dock. I think you all hopefully got a little thing in your folder there that showed where we would like to park the boat, which is the town dock right on the end of Park Road, assuming it's in and all the construction's done. If not, as in the past, when I used to operate down in Rangeley, we'd like to use Lake Street, the permanent dock down there, prior to the improvements on the docks there at Park Road. So we'd like to do those for those 2 Fridays, the 31st of May from 3 to 5, and then the following Friday for my business from 3 to 5 as well, to expose the 2 businesses. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions for Keith? I'm going to turn it over to John. Do you have anything on this end?
Park Commission?
Ask away.
I didn't, have you presented it to the Park Commission, since you potentially are looking at the park side?
I'm not sure if Keith did or not. I know previously we have asked the park to operate our cruises from there. This is a little different request because we will be sitting there for a couple hours as opposed to just coming in, getting people and departing. So I don't know, and I mentioned it to Keith, and he talked, I think, to John, the town manager, and asked us to appear here.
Yeah. I think it would just be option A that would require Park Commission, because it is an option B off Furbish property.
The town dock?
Yeah.
The swim dock.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. And in regard to that, if you look at option A, you're within that 3-hour window allowance of, let's say, mooring your boat or parking your boat within that dock anyway, so ultimately you don't really.
Okay, so
could be
it's
a- could be
nothing
a
above and
courtesy.
beyond.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. John?
Yeah, we, couple of things we discovered just today, actually, that grant that paid for the dock down in Boston wouldn't allow commercial, because it was, I don't know, Keith read it earlier today. That's something that we should bring to your attention. And then there's another issue you raised last fall about whether we could put a crosswalk down there.
Yep.
And we checked with MDOT and doing a crosswalk, we gave the selectmen a whole lot of information on MDOT crosswalk rules. They're pretty comprehensive. It would cost some money to, it's different than just painting a line across the street. So that's something the town has to really consider as to whether or not we can do that. But now that we found out commercial, this is the Boating Facilities Fund from the Department of Agriculture. Where'd you find that part, Keith?
So this was
This is for Aquasic or in Rangeley?
Aquatic.
A grant in Aquasic, yeah, not the one downtown.
That wouldn't allow
That's
commercial.
the one while he's researching and getting that for you, when they put that in, it was in conjunction with the Department of Agriculture and Inland Fisheries and Wildlife. And they designed the parking down there, Kevin, so that it was for canoers, kayakers, this sort of thing. And the boat ramp was for folks to be able to put in, but they didn't provide parking for it. So the intent wasn't to have big boats in there, other than to put your boat in, go to your home, take it out, or if you're fishing for the day, go ask Larry to park there, whatever you had to do. But the Department of Agriculture had some specific language, and John will read that to you.
Yeah. The fund is not intended to provide commercial boating access or non-boating water access. Example, opportunities for bank fishing, sightseeing, picnicking, where recreational boat launching is not the principal activity. Grants may be monetary or in the form of materials, these floats, concrete. But that, we didn't realize that until we read that. I don't know what that really means. The fund is not intended to provide commercial boating access. But according to what you've asked us, you're not talking about Aquasic anyways. But you, since you had asked us about the crosswalk.
But it's a different topic for maybe a different meeting, but yes, that is a huge impact for what we had discussed.
Yeah.
With regard to
Definitely.
other operations for the summer, but specifically for tonight, I think it's to, if we could, and I'd like to get a copy of that, we'll work through that, because that's a problem for
So to
for
get
us.
back to
But
tonight.
the request is to use the town dock for the 2 open houses.
Okay, to get back to tonight, I checked with our insurance company, Municipal, the underwriters, and they strongly suggest that we have you as a business owner, have the town as an additional insured on your insurance policy, because it sounds like you're gonna use this a whole lot more than what you've done in the past. So that increases the exposure for any kind of liability. So what she suggested to me was, as an example, the town of Rockport, they own the piers and the whatever docks they have down there. And through a lease agreement, so you mentioned you're gonna be, docking there for a couple hours, so those kind of things we could put in a lease agreement. And then your company, the way she explained it, would be able to include us as an additional insurer to protect the town and, protect yourself as well. I'm sure you have insurance. So we'll have to, I think we should maybe call our attorney to come up with a, when we get all the details of what you really intend to do, and then have them draw that up like a lease agreement, and we can, make sure you provide the protection for the town through your own insurance.
So this is for the open house these 2 nights, or this is for continued use during the summer?
I think for continued use, that's where the exposure is.
Okay.
So there's no problem with that, but that's what they strongly recommend, that protection to the town.
Okay, so if I could, I'd like to vote, approval or disapproval to do the open houses those 2 days. And then I'll need to revisit with whoever on the town as far as what our intended use was for the town dock in Rangeley and the dock in Aquasic for the summer. So if we could do the open house one tonight.
What are the dates again for the open house, please?
31st, Friday the 31st, and Friday the 7th of June.
June 7th.
May 31st and June 7th.
I'll make a motion to approve the open house dates of Friday, May 31st from 3 to 5 p.m. for Just Add Water floating camps, and Friday, June 7th from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. for Rangeley Region Lake Cruises
In the town cove of Rangeley, correct? In our town dock.
in our town.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll second that. Any questions? Yeah. All in favor? No votes.
Thank you.
Kevin, get in, certainly talk with Keith and John, but I would strongly get in touch with Becky Orff at IFW, and she can point you in the right directions of where that money came from and what those constraints are.
Understood. Thank you. I'll do
Be-
that.
You want her, you got that, Becky Orff?
I know Becky.
Oh, you know Becky,
I know
okay.
Becky very well.
Okay.
We've kind of talked this through, but I will revisit it with her and the town, and we'll get back to it.
She's gonna make you a copy of that.
Super. Thank you. But thank you. Yep, thanks.
Great resource, at least point you in the right direction of where that might go. It's probably with the licensing division, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Draft media policy, next on the agenda. Everybody had a chance to take a peek at that? All the questions we had last time, did you see them answered and reflected in this new policy? You know, things I brought up are here, so. Everybody good with it?
Yes.
Yes?
We compared it with the personnel policy to make sure we were all kosher with both.
Yeah, I think everything that came up, Tracy made correct.
Good.
I think you tabled it last time simply because
We
you
did,
only had.
Steve
3
wasn't
meetings.
here, and you had questions. We
Thank
wanted
you,
to make sure
appreciate
did.
that, yep. Dave, you good with it? Yep. Donnie?
Yes.
Cindy?
Yes.
Need a motion?
For the second. Make a motion to accept the media policy draft as the first reading.
Second.
All in favor? So moved, thank you. New business. Sky's the limit. All right, first on the agenda is a feasibility study. You want to do a small presentation, brief? All set with it? For the solar array?
If you folks would like some.
Yeah, would you like to, well, we could do it this way. Do you have any questions for Guy regarding solar array and what's being presented to you here? Feasibility study. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so I have a question. One of the questions that we came up with before with the feasibility study is that, one of the questions was if a company that is offering for solar, wouldn't they do the feasibility at no cost to the town?
Go ahead.
Yep, they would, but that's with a power purchase arrangement. So that's where they would come in, they're going to take up valuable space on your property and give you 5% to 10% off your power bill. And so they'll do the feasibility study for free, absolutely. What we're proposing, and what we understood was the thought process here was that the airport should own its own solar array. And with the solar array that will generate the power credits enough, we would size it so that it would just reduce the overall operating expenses from the airport. So we could size this to generate enough credits to produce $50,000 worth of credits to the town. That's the purpose of the feasibility study. And if in fact we can build it to that size, then the airport's normal appropriation is about $50,000. So it would pretty much it would pay for itself and pay for the appropriation each year.
The appropriation for what?
The airport. Right now it's about 30 some odd thousand. It's estimated that it'll go 35,000. It's estimated with new pavement that's going to be put down and additional runway lights and paving, and plowing, that the additional operating expense for the airport was estimated last year to go from about 35 to 50.
Okay, you're not talking about electricity, you're just talking about
Right.
overall.
Overall. The power bill's about
Donnie's got his hand up here. Go ahead, Donnie.
Yeah, I thought we kind of put this on the back burner until we figured out if we wanted to do the sewer plant, the garage, all that stuff.
I thought we had to.
Okay.
Wait a minute. We did, and it was a request that I made of Cindy to bring us in the blueprint on how to do it for the whole town. The whole town doesn't do anything with the airport. We're talking about spending airport money for an airport project.
Right.
Not for the town.
I understand that.
Not
but
for the sewage treatment plant. We're not asking DuBois King to do that. Just the airport.
The point is, the airport uses the least amount of electricity of anything in this town, pretty much.
But the difference is, and everybody will get an opportunity, I'll see your hands if I do this wrong, you aren't going to get an entire town project to do anything with FAA money.
Oh, I understand that.
Okay, so this is something completely different from a solar array for the town that will take care of the town school, the sewage treatment plant, the town office, etc. No matter how you cut the mustard, you're not going to take that airport money to pay for that.
Oh, no, I know that.
Okay,
But
recognizing that it's a different
Is
project
the FAA gonna pay
completely.
for this? No.
Okay, you had your hand up, John.
Just to remind you, when we brought this up a couple of months ago now, the motion made was to bring it to the airport commission and get their recommendation, and that's what we've gotten back from the
Okay.
airport commission, that they recommend we go with. So that was the motion that was made after all the discussion we had.
Yeah, that was awesome.
I'm sorry?
Yeah, I mean, that was because it was brought to us without any, with bypassing the airport commission, so.
And they weighed in now with, what, 4-1 vote? Is that correct?
On this
It
one,
was
yeah,
4-0.
4-0.
Is that right?
on this one.
I wasn't there. I was
Okay,
not
it was
in
a
attendance.
4-1 vote in the paperwork. Shelley?
So I think the reason why we tabled it is because it was thought that, I understand that the airport money is the airport money and the airport is separate. But I think we were thinking overall, if we were looking at adding in the sewer treatment plant and the public works building and the town, that we could get more bang for our buck if we did it all together rather than separate.
Right.
That's what my thinking was. And then also on your minutes for the airport, it just says that absent, that Jim, you were absent, but you voted.
Oh,
So I don't know.
I was there, I was there.
Yeah, I know, I see that.
You guys don't actually have the minutes for the meeting yet,
That's
they haven't been
28.
approved.
Okay,
That was the meeting before.
That's a meeting before, they didn't talk solar array on that one.
okay, all right, okay. But no, that's what I thought, is
Yeah.
that we were looking to group it all and have it as one project
Right.
to cut on cost rather than just focus on doing one department at a time.
That seems to be what other towns are doing.
I'm sorry?
That seems to be what other towns are doing, their approach to solar.
Donnie?
I had a question for Guy. Who's gonna, how's this gonna all shake out for the money? Is the town totally responsible for building this thing? FAA is just gonna let us do it on the airport property?
Yes, the reason we broke this up, it was a feasibility and a design. We wanted to make sure that it's even feasible to be able to put it on the airport. So yes, the town would pay for the feasibility study, and then if it's feasible to build it, then the town would fund the actual installation of the solar array. And you would own it.
Did you ever give us a figure about what you thought it might cost to build this thing, to run the airport?
Part of the feasibility study is to do exactly what you guys are kind of talking about right now. Do you want to just replace the $4,000 is what the average power bill is right now, and it would be sized to that size. At that point, we could give you an opinion of cost. If you wanted to size it to match the current appropriation of the airport, which is like $35,000, we could build it to that, and then we would give you an approximate cost.
But we still can't put anything on the airport property that would, like the sewer plant, you can't put the array on the airport property and then let it run the sewer plant, basically.
So what we propose is just to keep it airport simple. However, there is a possibility to do something differently and add in and other parts of the town, but the FAA would have to be involved, the FAA would have to give approval.
Yeah.
We don't have.
Well, we've got enough room up at the sewer plant. If we wanted to put an array up there, we could. That wouldn't be a problem. So, anyway, okay.
Yes, Shelley?
All right, so if, for example, we decided to put the, say we went with solar and we did it at the sewer treatment, then we could actually feed the airport as well, correct? Rather than the other way around, like, and not mess with the FAA and their regulations. If we were
Right, whatever you build on town property is whatever you want to do. If you wanted to throw the airport's meters on there as well, it's, sure.
Yeah, but that's all well and good in theory. We're in the middle of this project that you don't have any lines buried, you don't have any access points for electrical grid work, you don't have any of this engineering done. And the feasibility for that coupling is not done with this project that we've got funding for. So to suggest to anybody out there, well, yeah, we could, but we don't know if we can, because we don't know what's going to be feasible. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in all of the construction meetings, we know exactly where lines are going. And they're not going towards the sewage treatment plant, they're going away. So it's going to be, anyways, go ahead, Cindy.
Well, all the more reason for a town-wide feasibility study.
how come we don't have money in the budget for that if it was,
Well, we need to make a motion to ask our, our town manager to do some research on what is going to be involved with an RFP for solar feasibility study. I mean, in what cases, do they do feasibility studies for free? There are a couple of different options for power, and, we should probably, if the board approved a feasibility study for the airport, it probably ought to go out, our purchasing policy says it would need, an RFP. Since this isn't on.
We already have D&K as our engineer for, 5 years? Under they've already been selected a few years ago, so any projects at the airport, they're already approved by the FAA.
I guess what I don't understand is why are we arguing about an opportunity that will help defray expenses at the airport with airport money at no expense to taxpayer because it's paid by aviation fuel dollar taxes. It has been awarded by the federal government to use at our discretion for airport, and this would be a great opportunity to take a feasibility study and show the taxpayers this works at the airport for these reasons, or this is working at the airport, but we don't find it feasible for the sewage treatment plant because of thus and such. This is an opportunity in my mind to move a step forward. Go ahead.
I agree with you, but I don't think it should be a single thing right now. I think it would be in the town's best interest to put out a request for proposals. There's a lot of changes in this solar rules that since the new governor took office, but there's some active people working in Maine and working on airports with solar arrays and things like that, and I think it would just be interesting to send out a request for proposals and see what you get back and listen to it, just like this engineering for the Loon Lake Road. I think have a 2, 3, 4, whoever's interested in submitting something to you, to let them come in and present you a thing, and then I think the choices end up being better, and no one can question the process. I think it's the right way to go about doing
Okay, thank you. Rebecca?
business.
As far as the airport goes, we have a consulting firm. The RFQ has already gone out for the consulting firm for the airport. We're getting ready to do another one. We're putting it out tomorrow, so whoever was chosen for the next 5 years would be the consultant who would do the solar array if you guys chose to do it in 3 years. So going out for an RFP or an RFQ for airport property, that is already being done. That process is already done. The airport commission was given a presentation, they discussed it, and they voted on it. This is a recommendation by this board whose responsibility is development and care of the airport.
Okay, thank you. Guy, you had a point?
I'm just going to say, we worked very hard to bring in $547,000 of force account for the airport, Du Bois and King's efforts, my relationships with FAA. I was asked about 6 months ago or 7 months ago to develop this proposal for a feasibility study that would match the increases that are going to happen with this development of this airport. I took that very serious. When people in public meetings, when I met before everybody, and they said, we're concerned about more plowing, we're concerned about more power, we're concerned about more maintenance. We took that to heart. The solar array is identical, what we're proposing, to what I did at the Rutland Southern Vermont Regional Airport. They have not paid a power bill since 2015. So what we're proposing is using money that was developed, 100% money. This project was 100% funded. And so we're asking to be able to do that for the town, so that this project is delivered 100% and no additional operating expenses for the airport.
Are you installing a solar array anywhere else currently, right now?
Nope.
No? Do your engineers keep up with what's going on with the solar world?
Oh, certainly. We have a full mechanical, electrical, and plumbing division that does solar all the time. Not on air. We haven't done one on the airport since 2015.
But you're doing solar in other places?
Absolutely.
Want it on the board, John? Anything else? Yeah. Yes.
Not to, this solar array was not part of the request for qualifications that was submitted back on July 10th in 2017. So because it wasn't part of that, I think, as I just previously stated, that it would be in the town's best interest to send out a request for proposals and make it more open and broad there for participation.
Thank you.
I think he's actually wrong. I think it actually was part of the RFQ.
No, it wasn't.
It
I
wasn't?
read, no, it just
It was supposed to
mentions,
be.
it mentions it in there that they've done the work.
For the solar array?
Not
No, it
here,
wasn't.
that they had done one. That's all it mentioned, really. Anyway.
Can I say something? Am I allowed to make a comment?
Yeah, well, everybody else does this, and I go, yes.
Okay. It would make sense to me that if Dubois and King is already approved by the FAA, or to do work on the airport, or to manage the work, or to however you want to do that, that they should be able to do that. If Mark's suggestion for, putting it out for a request for proposal, why not just do that with the town, for all the town stuff? If you want to put an array at the sewage treatment plant, let them get 10 requests for proposals for that. But it seems like the airport has already kind of, and the airport commission has looked at that, made its decision, and going out for a quote at this point would seem counterproductive.
Okay. Is this gonna go point, counterpoint, Mark?
I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, John?
This whole discussion is the next item on the agenda for going out for RFQ for airport consultants for the next phase, which goes from 2020 to 2025.
And the property management.
Yeah. No, not the property, that's part of this discussion, but the next thing on the agenda.
The RFQ for airport
The
consultant.
RFQ.
Yeah, okay.
So that's ready to go out right now, and we, in that letter, you'll see we had after the airport commission reviews, it makes a selection on a consultant, then they'll present a recommendation to the board on June 17th. That's the next, that's in light with what's all this talk is about.
Yep.
So,
Oh, I'm sorry, Cindy?
so I guess that's part of my confusion is if we've got a new RFQ going out, in 2019, it says there's no project, which, we're talking about solar, but there's no project. So,
The new RFQ goes 2020 to 25. D&K is already our consultant until 2020.
Chairman, can I make one point on that? If I could?
Yep.
The RFQ will only ask for respondents to reply and provide their qualifications for items that are in this capital improvement plan that are FAA eligible projects. The solar array is not an FAA eligible project. This is a standalone project.
oh, okay.
Dave?
In my mind, we're in the middle of an airport reconstruction. To add this solar array would be like a change order. It's just an extra little piece of this project. We don't wanna complete the airport and then put the solar array in and have to dig everything back up to run all the appropriate lines.
Anything else, Dave?
That's it.
Jim?
I would say if we went ahead and finished this just as an airport project, and if it turns out to be popular, then nothing would stop the town from doing it on their own at some point, right? I mean, the town could say, hey, that works good, let's do it.
Yep.
There's a solar firm installing one at the Waterville Airport presently. They understand all these FAA rules and how to plan around airports and things like that, And there's other firms with airport experience as well. So I don't think that excludes them, that, these other companies don't understand what's going on here, because I think they do.
Thank you. All right, anything else from the board? I need a motion.
Make a motion to move forward with the feasibility study per the recommendation of the Airport Commission with a cost not to exceed $18,243.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, 3-2. Next, thank you, everyone. Property management agreement. John.
Well, you see the letter from the airport manager. Property manager came up recently with an interest by at least 4 people in wanting hangar space. We currently do not have a design for hangar development or property management, and myself and the Airport Commission feel that this is important to have for several reasons. We need to make sure we are maximizing the space we have and ensuring what is being built is to our specifications and wants. The current specifications that we have are not detailed enough and need to be updated. Du Bois King has provided us an agreement to provide us a detailed property management program and would work with the Airport Commission throughout the process to make sure their wants are addressed in regards to how they see the possible future development of the airport. The Airport Commission voted unanimously to recommend the Board of Selectmen to enter into an agreement to develop airport property management program with Du Bois and King. There's a couple of things that will need to be changed in the agreement. The town's attorney who reviewed the initial agreement has said he would work with D&K to make the appropriate changes once the board approves to move forward with the agreement. We have a gentleman currently who wants to build a hangar, and the Airport Commission tabled this vote until the board votes on this. The hope is that it is approved and Du Bois King can work with the Airport Commission and this gentleman to make sure we are meeting the end goal in regards to placement, size, color, etc. So that's the recommendation from the Airport Commission. And if you see the agreement, maximum shall not exceed $9,608 to come up with that document.
Questions? Yes.
I just want to give a background on this. We had a gentleman several months ago, you guys agreed on a lease agreement. And we found some issues while going through this process in regards to, and Guy will give a short presentation too, but regards to spacing in your real estate at the airport. The biggest revenue generating thing at the airport currently is going to be your hangar leases. So making sure we get the best bang for our buck. This gentleman wanted to build a smaller hangar on a huge lot. So with the property management agreement, we'll actually designate certain areas and size spaces for what certain hangars. And another thing that we noticed was that how he wanted to build it, it was a lot smaller. He only wanted a taxiway that just literally was the width of his tires of his plane. And we want our airport to look nice. We want it to be attractive, we want people to come in, we want people to build future hangars. And with the way the specifications are now, we can't do that. We couldn't, this gentleman actually backed out, he's building a pole barn somewhere else. But, I mean, we want to make sure our airport looks nice, and D&K is willing to work with the Airport Commission throughout this process, come up 3 different choices in regards to the hangars. But we do have a larger volume of people interested in hangar space now. And we want to make sure we can accommodate that and bring in that revenue.
Okay, questions from the board?
So this was sent to the attorney?
Say again?
This was sent to the attorney without public discussion?
Preliminary, yeah. Because you brought up in the past that we need to send this to the attorney, so that's why we send it to the attorney, so we can have a preview. And then he's already said we need some changes, but after you do it, then we'll.
I don't think the board was aware of a property management agreement before today. There's been a lot of talk about the policy for contacting legal, so.
There was a lot of questions in the past too, about too many contacts with legal, so, yeah.
How about what?
About too many contacts with legal, where it came up before.
I missed the first part, I said it.
There was, in the past, there has been,
Yeah.
where there has been too many contacts with the town attorney, for expenses.
You went through MMA with us, didn't you?
No, you said town.
Town attorney?
Power attorney.
Yeah. Rebecca?
If I may, it is my job as the airport manager, it is my job as the finance director, it is other employees' jobs to do what is best for this town, to come up with creative ideas to move the town forward. And this is airport, this is what needs to be done. We need this to get the most money that we can out of the airport. Again, we want our airport to look nice. Me coming up with an idea should not be frowned upon at all. Anybody coming up with an idea for this town should not be frowned upon at all.
Okay. Mark, you were hands up first?
I missed the last airport commission meeting when this surfaced, but I've been on the airport commission for 19 or 20 years now, and we spent several years with the standards for the conventional hangars, the T hangars, the colors, the construction standards, the snow loads on the roof, and working with the master layout plan on which areas were designated for these things to build out in the future and all of that. And the Airport Commission has always been able to keep up, and I mean, just look at how it looks now. You know, that was all with the Airport Commission and the consultant. No additional charges or anything else, so I'm not sure what's changed, that we need this new service. I'd like to sit down with my fellow Airport Commission members and go through what we have and find out why it isn't working before we go ahead with a new type of agreement there with fees attached to it.
You did hear that the airport last meeting, they voted unanimously for this.
I did hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. You had your hand up? All set? Okay. Dave?
Yeah. Having worked in this town for the last 14 years, going on 15, times have changed. We have a lot of developers that are creating subdivisions, and there's no form of rules, regulations, there's no governing board, you know, there's no association, so it becomes a mess. And I think at the airport right now, we're in a transition. And I think in order to maintain the integrity of the airport and to do the things that are appropriate in these times, that we should have some type of governing rules over it. And I think this is a great idea, and I think we should stand behind the
Hold on, I'll get to you.
Airport Commission's recommendation. I'm not sure why it was being booed, but okay. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Cindy?
I guess the question is why, if I heard Mark right, is why isn't this a part of your normal services? So you're currently working with us in developing the airport, so why isn't this within your normal realm of consulting services?
It certainly is. That's why this is a work order that's along with our general consulting agreement. These types of, I'll give you an example. When I took over the state of Vermont and the airports, I had 269 leases on 10 airports that I was responsible for. Not one of them had a standard like this. We went through, we reviewed every lease. We found that leases didn't match up, which were a legal nightmare. We found places, and I did talk to, by the way, Jack Hart, airport manager and town manager in Greenville, and he said it's okay if I say this. One in Greenville, they have little posters, a little hanger here, then a big one here, but they're 60 feet apart. Nobody had the forethought to put together a master plan for airport development. So now that the runways have been lengthened, you're going to have folks, and we're already hearing that folks are calling to build hangars. You want to be able to place them in the right spots, the right distance with NFPA standards, and to maximize the footprint. Not every inch is going to count on that airport as it starts to grow. In looking at some of the leases that you have now, they're not really standard. If you look at the general conditions that are within each lease, they're not the same. They're just not standardized. So having a template and an overall plan that is standardized, bless everybody's heart in the past. I'm not debating or negating the hard work that's been done in the past, but it's a fresh set of eyeballs. I came in and did a cursory review. I see where some standardization is certainly warranted. The place looks great. The hangars look beautiful. We're not talking about color, shape, and size per se. We're talking about location, where the under drains will go, where stormwater will go, a master plan that frankly the FAA doesn't usually fund. The FAA will fund here's a block of land that you should do for future use for hangar development. They don't get into the nth degree about the standardized lease language, things of that nature, which is what we're recommending in this plan.
We were lucky with the last two hangars that were built. The two people who built those hangars agreed that they were going to build the apron out to the taxiway and donate the taxiway, they said, back to the town. The new gentleman that came in, because we don't have the specifications, was not willing to do that. He was only willing to do just enough to get his plane on. So there's the difference there. I mean, it's not in the specifications exactly how big the apron should be. Just the last two hangar owners agreed that they would do that for the town.
Yeah, did you hear that, Phil?
And I think his issue too is bouncing back and forth from planning and stuff like that, because I've also talked to the individual I think we're referring to. And he struggled with the time and how long it took between getting the commission together and getting the planning with what he wanted to build. And so, I believe Kara Bassett, I'm not 100% sure if they canceled that or not, they were actually building their own hangars. And then other people leased those. I don't know if that's the best, because from what I understand, for what he wanted was very costly. And then on top of that, our leases, I guess one of the higher leases that are out there, but we also have enclosed. We can't really include the one like down in Avon because that's all open and it's not as nice as the ones that we have. So in a plan, would it be to have smaller hangars for different needs rather than having the huge hangars for every single plane? So, I just don't know what the answer is, but.
Yeah, and in the plan itself.
But I don't like spending money
Yeah,
either.
yeah. Well, trust me, I get that.
That's my biggest gripe. I don't like spending money I don't have to.
The airport commission has many whiteboarding sessions. We really want to maximize the knowledge. There's a lot of people. A lot of people know a lot of things up there. They've been on that airport for a long time. What we don't want to do is have people come in and, or I'm sure you guys don't want, is hangars are just popping up. They're separated differently. Then you have the other issue with who's maintaining the pavement when they're building their taxi lanes over to that. Is that the town's requirement? Is it their requirement?
Right.
And this is where standard lease rules, regulations, general conditions, minimum standards for if you have commercial activity. If a fixed base operator comes on this airfield, I manage 7 fixed base operators in Vermont. You've got to have these things in play. It doesn't say you have to activate them yet, but they're written. Legal's reviewed them, the airport commission's reviewed them, the select boards agreed to it, and now you're ready to use them if you bring a commercial business on there. Right now it's there is a commercial business, but it's there is. It's there, and it is what it is, but could get different. Could become
So I
different.
have a question. So if someone comes in, they decide they're going to build a hangar, and then they follow the criteria. So then, by them paying the lease, do we pay for the repaving or the sealing that needs to happen in front of their hangars? Is that what we do?
Go ahead, Guy.
Wouldn't it be in the
I
lease
guess
agreement?
Right now, it doesn't specify.
Right, it's not
Right now, it
specified.
doesn't.
Not even in the lease?
The only one that's doing any resealing right now, and I was there yesterday, is Larry. The only one.
And he's doing it on his own?
Hmm?
And he does it on his own? I'm just asking, does he do it on his own?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, while we're doing the project up there, so you know, there was a failed drainage inlet that's near the hangars. We're going to get that repaired with the federal project. The contractors already said they would do that. But to answer your question, you're right. The problem I always had in Vermont as well, somebody calls and says, I want to put a great big hangar up there. Okay. we didn't, at first, when I first took over, we didn't have the lots chosen already, the dimensions, we didn't have the permits already in place. But that's the level we want to get you guys to, is where the airport right now, we have certain number of hangar spaces already approved and permitted because we did it with the runway and the taxiway. We did a master planning level of permitting. We can certainly take this to the next level. So when somebody comes in, they can go to the airport commission or go to Rebecca. I want to build a hangar. All right, this is the shape, size, and we've got lot 1, 2, and 3 that's available right now. And then they can just go to design. They don't have to go through all of these approvals because it's already been approved. So that's the goal we're looking for. Rebecca can pull a standardized lease template right off, and it's filling in the name, address, and then the dollar amount with a lease rate schedule. This is the square foot hangar. This is what it costs per square foot. It's fair and equal for everybody on the airport. You don't run into compliance issues with the FAA. We're giving one person a really good rate and somebody a really expensive rate because we don't like it. I mean, that's the issues in looking at your leases. They're not all standard. So
The square foot rate, oops, excuse me. The square foot rate isn't the same on all those conventional hangars? You think-
just the couple that I looked at, they're not exactly the same.
What's the difference on? I thought they all had, the conventional hangars, I thought the number of square feet for each one, it was by the square foot, that the rate was the same.
Right, but there are different times. What I looked at, when you come in with different times, the rates can vary. Right, what I'm recommending is a standard lease rate schedule that the airport commission can approve at the beginning of every year or every other year if they feel the need to change it. And that way you can apply that same standard rate to square footage. So it's just one of many.
Okay, thank you. Okay, anything else from the board? Yep.
Now, is that part of the master plan, is to set them up? I mean, in part, I would have thought that with the master plan, that would actually have the space.
It's not part of the master plan because we've already voted one time since I've been here on rate changes based upon the recommendation from the airport commission. And they voted to not change the rate. You're squinting like you don't remember that.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure you answered Shelley's question.
No, I'm talking about the,
Footprint?
yes.
Okay, that's what I thought you were understanding, sorry.
Oh.
That's okay. So right now, there's just little spots that are saying, all right, this is reserved for hangar development.
Mm-hmm.
What we're recommending is there's quite a bit of footprint there that could be developed by working with the airport commission, where we could say, we're going to put some larger hangars, but also some medium-sized hangars, maybe some smaller hangars, and develop that area that's that as you're heading north along that path up through. Right now, it's not. There's only 2 hangars that are on the master plan that was just redone.
I think there's 3, because we do have a plot size that was available that you had an opportunity to vote on.
There's only 2 more extra.
Oh, extra, okay, go ahead, Mike.
So, I think Shelley was asking if this type of thing would be like an appendix to the master plan, or something like that, and, you know, as such, be funded as, you know, an amendment to the master plan. And so,
Yeah.
that's one.
Is that what you were asking?
Yes.
So what I would recommend with that is this could
Like,
be,
what was
absolutely.
included and what wasn't
But
included.
if we're not saying an airport layout plan update with the FAA is not expensive, but it costs money. We're gonna put together a subset, so it's a terminal area plan. We'll do that for this, and it has the hangars are properly located and spaced, sized by working with the airport commission. So we'll come up with alternatives and then come up with a preferred alternative. This is the layout of this with apron, who's responsible for that apron, markings on the apron, all these things.
Okay. Anything over here? Is it something new, Mark?
Yeah, I had a second part to that question. I was just trying
Thank
to
you, Mark.
clarify what I thought Shelley was asking. And then the point I was interested in finding out was, is this like a one-shot deal, this contract? Does this have a beginning and an end, that Dubois King is gonna remedy all of this hangar and development issues for like the next 20 years, and we're gonna have that in the file, and then the town people can vote to, or the Board of Selectmen vote to adjust the rates, but everything else stays standardized, so they'll start on one date, 6 months later be done with it, you pay them the amount of money that's in the contract, and it's over with. Is that
That's what it says
how
here.
that is structured?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Are you good? Yes, sir.
Can this come out of the airport reserve account? And can the other one come out of the airport reserve account as well? Okay.
We good?
Yeah.
All right, we're done. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All set, ladies, gentlemen? All in favor?
What exactly was the motion? I just,
You want to repeat it, Dave, please?
So
Approve
moved.
the agreement to develop the airport property management
Thank you.
program with Dwayne King.
Seconded by Donnie? We
Yeah.
good?
yep.
All in favor?
Wait. Do we need it to say that it's coming out of the airport reserve account, or do we vote on the reserve account expenditure when it's in our binders?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Second.
All
I
set?
just want to make sure that,
Yeah, no, that's fine.
we're using that airport reserve account.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
So we
We
don't
don't have
have to
a problem
raise
with that. All in favor? All right, no opposed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Guy.
Thank you for answering
everyone.
my questions.
No, thanks, everyone. Good questions from everyone. All right, let me get to where I'm supposed to be here. Next is the RFQ Airport Consultant Agreement. Let me hear about it.
All right, so we just had, and I mean, we have to do the RFQ process anyway, agreements, both agreements for Stantec and for the Dwayne King run out January 2020. Whatever construction, like airport project, if something happens, it goes into February of 2020, D&K can still do it because it's a current project. But any new projects starting in 2020, we have to have an RFQ for. We just had an inspection on the AWAS, and my visibility center is broke. To replace it is $18,000. And as of June 2019, it will not be serviceable anymore. The AWAS was put in 2001, and it's at its end of life, either this year or next year. I spoke to the company that has it. So to put in a new AWAS is around $150,000. It is FAA funded, 95.5. Our 5% would be around $7,500 to replace the whole system. So I contacted the state, Stacy Haskell, and talked to her about changing the CIP, and because this is a priority. You have to have the weather reporting. So that would be changed to the next project. We have CIP meetings coming up in June, and we would like to have, whether it's D&K, whoever is chosen for the consultant starting in January 2020 needs to be a part of those meetings. So she agreed and did the RFQ, and will be put out tomorrow to go ahead and get some proposals back.
Questions for Rebecca? Yes.
I see in page 3, future airport projects. Okay, we've got installed perimeter fencing. Now, when we first started all this thing with the airport thing, the first meeting I went and asked, I said, is this going to trigger us having to do a fence? And I was told no.
No.
Yes, I was.
The fence has actually been a part of the CIP for years, it just keeps getting pushed back. It's been in there for
For the
before
whole,
this.
even the fence in the whole airport.
Before this project even came about, the fencing was in there, it just keeps getting pushed back.
Well, I've been asking this for ever since the first time they extended the runway, and I was told, no, you don't have to worry about it. Unless you have a tower and all this stuff, you don't need it. So now I see it's in here. And then I also see construct parallel taxiway. I thought we figured out we didn't need this thing because of the roundabout at the end. Go ahead.
Right now, it's still put in for 2021, but
Okay.
again, we have CIP meetings in June.
Okay.
That could change. There still needs to be a study done. This is just preliminary saying it's recommended and not required. There would still be a study done at the end of the airport project, and guys, correct me if I'm misstating this, but once the airport project's done, there would be a study, and they would come back with more defined, like whether it actually is required or.
Guy, weigh in on
It was
the.
just preliminary
I
as
thought we
of
were
right
told
now.
it wasn't.
Yeah, hold on, he'll weigh in, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, so the parallel taxiway, why it's been delayed is the FAA needs more data to be able to determine if an instrument approach procedure, a straight-in instrument approach procedure, can be designed. Right now, it's a circling only. It comes in from the south, and you have to circle the land. It's pretty dangerous. So straight in instrument approach procedure. We put money into the budget for the omnibus to fund that study, and we're going to do that in the fall when the leaves are starting to come off. We're going to have Cornerstone will come up and they'll do an aeronautical survey. That information will go into the FAA's database, and they'll be able to calculate whether an instrument approach procedure can actually be done. The last time this data was collected was quite a few years ago, and they told us that it was, it was good, then it wasn't good, and finally they said it's not good enough.
Okay.
So.
Plus you had the hump and you had these other problems where you couldn't see the full length of the runway.
Now it's that line of sight. The other thing we requested, I don't know if you remember, is that we wanted to put hammerheads and increase the size of the hammerheads on either end of the runway, 3-2, and they turned us down on that.
Okay.
Is that what you want to talk about?
No, I was just gonna say, and also, I mean, it's scheduled for 2021 right now, but because of the AWAS, it could get pushed back to 20. Things change every year
Right.
at every CIP meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, I was just questioning the need for it, if we really need it or not, but I guess they'll figure that out. Also, the fencing. Back to the fencing again. Is this something that's required?
What's your experience?
Are you looking at, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the fencing, is that
you're
required
right.
by the FAA to put this fencing in?
So I think, if I could with tongue-in-cheek say, I think you should rephrase your question next time, because you've asked this question many times.
Yeah.
You asked me if this is gonna trigger, if the runway extension is gonna trigger the fence. The answer to that is absolutely no.
Okay.
Is it required to put fencing around the airport? No, but once Sully put the airplane into Long Island Sound a few years back, the FAA has really been on every general, they started with the commercial airports, now they're going to the general aviation airports for security, mostly for wildlife issues, to put fencing around the airports. Is it required? Absolutely not.
Okay.
If the FAA recommends that you should have fencing because you have a wildlife issue and you choose not to put it up, and there's an incident or accident, then right.
Is there money for that
Absolutely.
from the FAA? Okay.
That's a
That's
question.
all I have.
Did you raise your hand, Cindy?
Yeah.
Shelley? One of you did, I think. That's why you go.
So for this one, okay, because there's a lot of things that are.
I can't hear you.
Sorry, there's a lot of things that have come up. So with this request, is that basically, because we also have another email from Deck. So my question is that what they are supposed to be doing right now? Don't we have a contract with them to a certain point? I don't understand this.
Who's the email from? I mean, tell me, which one are you talking about?
That's one.
Okay.
So is this the same, basically the same thing?
No, that's
That
the
contract, or
next-
this is something totally different?
That's the next item. He called me and wanted to come and meet me, and so I called him back and told him, yeah, he wanted to give me a couple of days' notice. But then on that email, he's saying somebody wanted him to come to a selectmen's meeting, so I don't know who that is. But the question with this arises, if we're gonna be putting out a new RFP tomorrow, with a special meeting coming up with people who respond, he's gonna be invited to come in for that. I don't know if that's putting the cart before the horse. If you want him to come here on May 20th, what does the board wanna do? 'Cause
Well,
I thought I was just calling him to answer his first email, and he wanted to come up and meet me and talk about his company, so.
all right, let's deal with the email requests after we get through this. Okay. Any more questions on that?
I think so, yeah. It was just a question of why it was needed, but Rebecca explained it was because of the AWAS and it can't be replaced.
Right. Yes, Rebecca?
both contracts, Stamtex and D&K's both run out January 2020.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Mark.
So, I don't see what you have there, but will this process be similar to this road thing? You'll post it on the town website and the MMA website that you're looking for requests for qualifications for an airport thing, and then you'll get the books there and...
Did you say similar when you started out? Yeah, possibly similar. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's identical, but yeah.
Right,
We're gonna be requesting.
And then you folks will get all that
Yeah.
stuff before you
Yeah.
vote on it. Okay, because
Yeah.
the last time you voted on it before, you ever got the books to look at.
Go ahead, I'm getting a head shake here.
No, that's not actually part,
the state of Maine, what you have in front of you is a cookie cutter RFQ, the same one I put out for the runway extension. The state of Maine approves it, they post it, we post it on our website. It comes back to the airport commission, the airport commission goes through them, they decide on who they feel is most qualified for the next 5 years and the projects that are discussed, or that are possible in the next 5 years, they take that recommendation to the Board of Selectmen, and the Board of Selectmen vote on that recommendation. Just like it's been done for the last so many years.
Well, there you go. Got it? You'll see it before us.
Yeah, but you folks will see it before you vote. You'll get.
We'll get your recommendation, is what Rebecca just said.
I would have a little trouble following it.
I thought it was very nicely done. They're gonna put out a request, which they're doing tomorrow.
Okay.
It'll be done, and then it's gonna go to the airport commission, what comes back. Your commission will review it and make a recommendation to the Board of Selectmen on what they feel is their recommendation.
Right.
I don't think I missed anything, did I?
No, but
Okay.
you folks,
Yeah,
it's a recommendation because they're an advisory board. But when you folks have the same information the airport commission has, these copies of the request for qualifications, so that you can educate yourself as to what's being offered as well.
Just a little history, we didn't get them the last time we voted. After the 2017 RFQ, at our meeting that we were asked to vote, we didn't get these. So that's all.
So, do you want to change the way they're doing it? So that we get this and we make the recommendation, or do you want it to go through the previous channels?
It's, I mean, their role is to advise.
Correct.
Right.
And so we can request all of the information that they reviewed,
Yes.
and they can advise us of their recommendation.
Exactly.
So I don't see any reason why we couldn't get all the material, unless I'm missing something here. Am I?
We absolutely should.
All right, so there's our dictum for that.
Okay.
Any issues with that, John? We don't need a motion on this, we just remember how we were going through it. This email that we got, I have a few,
Do we need a?
we don't need a motion for that.
On the
They're gonna,
RFQ?
they're doing it, they're putting the RFQ out.
It has to be done apparently.
Okay.
What it says in the letter, it has to be. The letter says it should, you can go to the airport commission yet because it has to be done.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a question for who?
For you guys, did you get your change order back yet for the turnouts?
It was denied. It was denied.
It was denied for the
Hammerhead?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was denied.
Okay, all right.
I said that. You're not listening to me, huh?
No, it wasn't called
Hearing aids, how's yours
Hammerhead.
doing?
I know, see.
I got some batteries.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, John received an email from, is it Irving Deck, or Deck Irving? Which is
Irving
Deck. Again, it's pretty, not a big deal, but
Yeah.
it says, also, I've been asked to attend a selectmen's meeting to answer some of their questions, so would May 20th work for you? Who asked him to come? I'd like to know.
Probably his boss.
Hmm?
Probably his boss.
Okay, I was under the assumption it came from a request from somebody here, and this, be that as it may, if it's his boss, then that's fine.
No, back in January, I gave you and John the contract that we were previously unaware of.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
said, there you go.
Right, but none of us asked him to come to a selectmen's meeting. First of all, the
Never even
request
talked
was,
to the guy.
the request was, somebody asked John, I think it was you or you, to ask John to get in touch with him. I remember that.
It was a board vote.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys brought it up, and then we talked about it and voted
We
on it.
brought it up at a meeting and he
Yeah,
had
it's board vote.
Yeah.
emailed me in January.
All right.
Yeah.
So anyway, I called him and, said, yeah, he's free to come up and give me a couple of days' notice to make sure I'm gonna be here. And then I got the email, so it looks like he's coming on the 20th. But do you want him to come to your meeting? I don't know,
Relative to the contract that they told me was done in January, in my opinion, if we have John speak to him, we gotta ask everybody else to come and talk to him too. I don't think that's the way to go about it. Just throwing that out there for you to think about.
No, I thought, we had discussed it at a board meeting, and that's what I
Right.
recommend.
Yeah,
Well, we do have a
Remember.
contract with these guys, so it's not like everybody.
I don't think there was a vote, Cindy, I think it was just mentioned.
Like a
that I
consensus or
should
something.
call him.
Yeah.
Call him back, actually, because he left a voicemail.
Yeah.
All right,
Oh,
so
yeah.
you'll have a chat with him and we'll be,
Figure out.
So do you not want him to come on the 20th?
no, I don't want, we got enough to do on the agenda. We got the RFQ going out. We need to get all the information from everybody. I see your hand, Mark, please. Honest to God, let me finish my sentence. If, now that this is going out, we know what the contractual dates were for D and K and others, to show special treatment now for something that was previously done, correct or incorrect, I just don't think we need to go there. Unless you have a burning desire to have him make a presentation of some sort.
I don't think it's a presentation, it's just like, we didn't know the contract existed. You know, it's like, I think he's got an unfinished phase, like phase 2, you know, I don't know why they never finished phase 2 of the apron and, I mean, why didn't they do it?
What's your, yes,
I can clarify.
okay.
So phase 2 has been bumped out and bumped out, so it is actually part of the between the projects between 2020 and 2025. And it's either you or John, if you guys ask him to come and present, you have to ask every consultant firm that you think would put in for it to come and present. As part of it's a conflict of interest because we're putting an RFQ out. Just like when you put out an RFP, if anybody asks a question, you're supposed to post it on the website. The airport commission has the right, if they want to do interviews, they can invite anybody who puts the RFQ in, they can invite them in to do an interview if they would like.
Okay, you have something to add to this?
Yes, my understanding is that Stantec has a contract with the town. And they were working on the apron expansion, the tie-down area, when this airport project came up. Dubois King was awarded that. You know, Stantec hasn't been contacted since. We still have a contract with them. I mean, Guy Ruel's been to countless meetings and no one's
So they haven't been
accepted it.
contacted and you got this information from who?
What's that?
You're making a statement that we haven't contacted them. Where'd you get that information?
I just don't think, I go to all these meetings, and I worked with Urban Deck when we did the 2012 master plan. I was chairman of the airport commission for about 5 or 6 years. And I worked with them, and I had a working relationship. And, you know, so I don't know why it would be a big deal if he wanted to come, and he didn't. You know, I don't think it's any different than having anyone else that has a contract.
Were you the one who told them to get on the agenda?
No, I didn't tell him to get on the agenda.
Okay.
No.
You had a comment?
No, I wasn't under the impression that there was any presentation, I just, you know, we didn't even discuss presentation at the last.
Would it be, let's see, 20th is how many meetings away? It's the next one?
I don't know.
May 20th, is that the next meeting for us?
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
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 Actually, it's Memorial Day, so I have to get switched to
Okay.
something else. Oh, no, never mind.
What about just having him talk with John first and then have John tell us where we should go so that we're not, there's no issue with conflict of interest from the board?
It's a good idea.
Does that work for you all? Let's do that then. You talk with him and then if we need to have him back in front of the board. I don't want to waste his time. I don't want to waste everybody else's time.
Well, you know, when he first called me, I didn't want to waste his time either, because since I've been here, we've been working with D and K.
Why?
I didn't, you know, I knew he was.
And maybe you could
consultant
figure
in the
out-
past.
Okay, thank you. Next is RFP Auditor Services.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
When we bid for the audit 2 years ago, in our bid proposal, we had statement in there that says, for the year ended June 30th, 2017, with options for renewal for the years ended June 30th, 18 and 19. So it was a 3-year bid, and the current auditor bid $4,200 each year, the previous auditor bid $5,000, so you accepted this bid based on low bid. But what what I had Rebecca look up was what we've actually spent, because he's charged us, different amounts of money here beyond the 4,200, so during 17 and 18, the total bills we paid to him is 7166.75, and then for so far in 19, 6699.10. And then we gave you copies of, just for him to prepare for a special services field visit. He charged us $805 and then another $1,289 to come up here back in June of 18. Then we gave you 3 years worth of what the previous auditor had bid. And it's pretty clear that we ended up paying more money than. So when you look at the low bid, you have to look at, there was nothing in his bid that said he would charge us fees for additional help. I know Rebecca's, had a difficult time getting them to respond and answer questions. So I would recommend that we, because we bid it out with options and he responded acknowledging the options, we're free to put it out again instead of 3 years, 2 years. We've had them 2 years. I think we ought to put it out to bid again a year earlier, and still say he can put in another proposal if he wants. I think I wasn't too happy with what I saw. I don't know if the board was. That's my recommendation. I think we should go to bid for a new one.
Yeah, Shelley?
So the difference was that it was, the other auditor was standard accounting, it wasn't government accounting, is that correct?
Well, that seems to be what he mentioned.
And there were actually a
Two
lot of
different- two
corrections
different-
that were on that too. I mean, they're
Yeah, but they were mostly-
big and very well known in the muni world.
Yeah,
I
they were
mean-
mostly journal entries
Right.
that we made. But
And did we question them when they gave us the bill? I mean, did we say this wasn't part of your contract, or was it our fault because it wasn't all spelled in the request when we asked for services?
probably not. I wasn't here last year, but this year we didn't. But we know he hasn't responded either to come up. Things like depreciation schedules. For 12 years in Mexico, my auditor always did those. So, he's telling us he can't do those. We have to do them here, which is fine. But those kind of health issues, I'm not very happy with what I see.
I'm just really concerned because of all of the things and new laws and stuff, because he kept quoting the laws and everything. And when we had our MMA training, and we were most of us were all there, they said right at the beginning, although we have a treasurer, finance director, and a town manager, the money is still the Board of Selectmen's responsibility.
Oh, absolutely.
And we were totally like, ah. And with this auditor, I saw that he presented it that he was working for us and he was presenting it to us. And I like that. I like that it is.
But if you also remember when he gave the presentation,
yeah,
he said, well, yeah, we could come up with an agreement to come in and assist with other things for an additional fee. So my whole point is, he looked like he low bid that to 4,200 from what we had paid in the past, 45, and from the previous audit, the most recent one was 5,000. So for $800, we spent a lot more money than that $800 savings. So I don't see where it would hurt if we went out, a year earlier.
right. And I just would strongly suggest that when we do go out, that we specifically say, so if this needs to happen, are there any additional costs?
Yes.
So did
Although we did give you a sample
Right.
of,
Did everybody go through the request for proposal sheet that was given, so what will be sent out?
this
If
was
you
what we
did,
had
what
put
did
out
the
the
ad-
last time. This was what we had done the last time.
Correct.
Yeah, I think we need to do, like, let's see, it's called a government audit, not the standards accounting, right? So that was one thing that I saw, with just rather calling it just an audit. And then add a part on there where you ask for,
You see on the compensation section? there?
yeah, yeah.
So we did
For any,
respond.
if there's any training, what the fee would be, if there's anything that needs to be worked on the findings, what's the fee to work with the town, or,
Yeah, this says, must indicate the maximum total fee your firm will charge for audit services outlined in this proposal. Please break down the fee in the following categories: total audit, and then regular hourly rate, which we didn't have as hourly rate
right?
in this proposal.
Let me respond to the government audit versus regular audit.
Yeah.
As you, when I spoke to my accountant about this after, because I called him up the next day, I was very confused by him a little. I shouldn't say very, but there were some aspects that bothered me. And I said, is there such a difference between a government audit and a regular audit? No, I didn't use the word regular, a standard audit. And he goes, absolutely, when you work for a municipality, it is a government audit. There's no, I mean, it would be like saying you're going into a restaurant for lobsters when they only serve steak. There's that delineation in terms of how they proceed and what they do. So he made a big deal out of it, but are you going to?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so he made a big deal out of it, but in the accounting world, that is a practice.
It's state statute. All the auditors we've had before follow the government auditing standards. It's state statute, you have to.
Any other questions about this? Looking to my left.
Just an observation, because he sent us the email, and I just find it concerning that our last auditor, performed the audit under general accepted auditing standards when state statute said otherwise. And how do we move forward and get an accounting of the corrections that needed to be made, just so we can wipe those 2 years. But the Board of Selectmen knows that we were responsible in following up. So how do we do that,
All
John?
the entries are made. Right, we have all the entries made right now.
They
So does
literally were
he-
just journal entries, and some of the journal entries were journal entries that he told me to make last year.
Yeah, that's
They
what.
were reversing
Yeah.
his mistakes.
So does he do a follow-up to say, okay, good job, Town of Rangeley, you're done?
Just the final, email he sends. We haven't heard from him since. He did call the other day, ask for Rebecca where the policy was that we were developing, and she had sent it to him last November.
Yeah.
And
That's all, I just want to make sure that we're putting this to bed and that we're not leaving anything out there, because, yeah.
Okay, I need a motion for an RFP so that we can send, okay, I'm sorry.
Sorry. So in this as well.
This isn't, in my house, this isn't raising your hand, this means I have a headache, son, leave me to frig alone.
That's starting. Anyway, so can we put, what is your procedure for presenting audit?
we can
And
have
your
that.
follow-up? I'm just trying to,
We can actually specify what we want it to be.
okay, let's do
Because
that.
I think in there, it actually says that they will present it to we've always had them present it to the Board of Selectmen. Well, since I've been here, it's always been presented to the Board of Selectmen. The last auditor did like a Excel packet, not an Excel, like a PowerPoint packet that they handed out.
Yep, we got a packet before, we
I don't
reviewed
remember
everything.
what, it's been a while, I don't remember what the prior one did. But yeah, we can specify, if you guys want to change that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying procedure of going back, we want to see a pre-audit, and then
Well, we
their draft.
We should have had a draft first.
Should have had a
so
draft
we could
first to review,
Understand what he was.
to see what the corrections were, yes, and then, rather than giving just the final.
Right, and that's exactly
And
what
then the
that says.
fees that are associated with that process. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
I
I just, to alleviate any of that going forward, I think if we're more specific, then maybe we won't have what we've had in the past, and we'll actually get actual numbers.
Rebecca and I will work on that tomorrow.
That seem fair?
Yeah,
This is
absolutely.
right here, if we gotta check.
Any other points? Everybody happy with them setting it up? We don't need a motion on this, just get her done. Send the RFQ, or do you want a motion?
Yeah, a motion.
All right, give me a motion.
I'll make a motion to post a request for proposals for professional auditing services for the town of Rangeley.
Second.
Anything else? All in favor? So moved. Thank you. Getting down to town manager report, department head updates. Let me flip over to 10 real quick. I can't express to you how proud I am of the police and fire department right now. Make me smile. You see some information here from Tom, what he sent out to us. Code enforcement officer, zoning update. That's number 10, sent to us. Any discussion on that? You need a motion on that?
Yeah, no, I added to that the the tentative contract with Avcog. If you notice in his report, he's got code improvement work on chapter 38 is nearing completion. Avcog is going to assist with the final organization, formatting, and proofing of the draft. This will transfer that work from the town attorney's office to Avcog and result in significant savings. So that's, I wanted to make sure you had a copy of what they're proposing as a contract. So Avcog for years, I was 20 years on their board, there's a certain amount of assistance they can give all the member towns, but if it goes to more specific, longer issues, they do try to charge that to help pay all the costs of the organization, all towns, so. The rates that they charge are significantly less than the legal fees that we pay hourly. So we'll have all that for you when they give us what the rates are. They're figuring that out, like a not to exceed probably. But at least you'll have, the contract shouldn't change. It'll be a lump sum, not to exceed contract price. And that'll tell us how much work they anticipate they need to do. There should be some savings, significant.
Anything else in there, John?
No.
Okay. Police department sent us their report, nicely done, as well as Chief Bacon, Fire and Rescue. Any questions or comments on any of that you read? Go ahead, John.
What's an illegal yard sale?
What?
What's an illegal yard sale?
They set up at the town parking lot a yard sale. Some people from out of town, from what I'm hearing, it was while I was out.
Okay, just curious.
Gotta have
Having one, and I was like,
gotta have vendor's license.
Holy cow.
That's a good
Can't
one.
make this stuff
I didn't
up.
want to open up my garage this summer.
Yep. Who wants to talk about the calendar?
I just have a question.
Shoot.
A fire call for a flooded basement, is that,
Yes, they suck them out.
they do?
Yes, I heard that.
All right, I just,
Because we have the portable pumps. that
Okay.
Most people don't have.
okay.
Well, it's a safety thing too.
Yeah, safety, it could knock your.
Health issue, if nothing else.
They'll do,
Good. Okay, anything on the calendar? Yes.
I just want to let you know that absentee ballots will be available as of this Friday, May 10th, and so will the town report at the same time.
Thank you. Thank you. In the last meeting, did you vote to see who's going to be in the town report?
No, it wasn't on the agenda.
Okay.
what's that?
Who's going to be dedicated to in the town report?
We don't usually tell.
You what?
We don't usually tell.
Oh, okay, so you all picked it.
You don't want to tell us.
Okay, done,
Public
perfect.
hearing anyway.
Anything on the calendar?
Yeah.
There's still a letter in here on item 10. 10 from Kate about
no, it's
request
under
for
here.
Poland Springs.
Oh, did I miss it? I'm sorry.
No, that's next after the calendar.
Okay,
Sorry.
yeah, that's under calendar, I'm at calendar, yes.
One more calendar thing, we need to have another public hearing
Public hearing.
on the final warrant.
Right.
So do you want to look at the calendar
Yes.
to try and schedule that?
Thought you
When
guys
do
had
we have
already
to have
done
it
that.
by? When do we have to do it by?
31st.
10 days.
Isn't
day of the
it
month.
May 31st?
Yeah.
We have to do it before May 31st.
And don't you have to check with this?
So can we do that before the selectmen's meeting on the 20th? Can we do a public hearing then?
That's up to you.
That's too close.
Yes, no?
No,
Too much?
yeah.
More than tonight? Come on.
Well, you're gonna be out, so that's.
Don't count me out yet. I may hobble
I
in
wanna
here
make
for that
sure
one.
you're there.
What about the 27th? Is
I'm
that
good with the
holiday?
27th.
Memorial Day.
Oh, well, never mind that one.
28th?
There's a blue.
What's green?
Is it green?
Park Commission.
No, that's airport.
Oh, that's airport?
And
Oh,
they meet right after, they meet
It's
at
blue.
4 or 4:30.
28th then, let's do it.
28th.
5 o'clock.
Do you want it here or at
Yeah.
the school?
Oh,
School.
really?
Yeah, just for the.
School it is, rock and roll.
Really?
You guys good with the school? Dave?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
No baseball. Or softball.
So
What
what-
time?
28 is
5 o'clock.
6 o'clock. Okay, what do you want?
6?
Tell-
6.
6 o'clock, I think 6 for everyone to fill that place in. And if, I've got to call everybody tomorrow, or no, we picked that date, didn't we? Well,
Yeah,
so I don't need to call everybody. Right. Good. Anything else on the calendar?
Good time.
Yes? No? All right, next is Poland Springs update. Yeah, I hadn't turned to that page, I'll read
Sorry.
Shelley's. This is from Kate, from Kate Kafori about, I'll read it to you. Hi, I just want to let you know that I spoke to Heather at Poland Springs. She confirmed that the 2018 check for the economic development was never issued. They just got the check and it should be at the town, and she left. But we got it?
It is. Yeah.
Okay,
And we put it in the downtown
Yep.
reserve account.
okay. Also, they granted us an additional $2,500 for 2019, and we'll be sending out that check soon. In addition, we have an outstanding request for donation to address parking. That request is not in the 2019 budget, but they will see if any money does open up for this year, and they will put it into their request for 2020.
Can we send a thank you?
What?
Can we send a thank you?
Absolutely. Put that right in your capable hands. Questions, can we send a thank you note to?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. All right, Poland Spring, any communications? Okay, thank you. We do have an executive session, so we're gonna,
Motion to adjourn.
yeah, there'll be no legal, we won't be taking any action. We're going into executive session at 8:22.
I'll make a motion to enter into Mass RA Title I, Chapter 13, Subchapter 1, Section 405, 6A.
Second. All in favor? Moved and seconded, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Your question.
No.
I heard you say, did I just get booed? I'm like, no, I mouthed the question with you.
Do you need me to ask?
I didn't
You need to ask me that question?